Hey everyone, Dave here with Affordable Door and Gate. We got a great email here from Caleb. I won't read all of it, but he was mentioning that he is getting into the garage door business, it sounds like, and he ran into a little bit of a snag. He had a family friend hitting an issue here. It says the door, typical lead times, and ordering a new door. I think that all depends. So I really need some of my seasoned vets to comment on this video. And even if you think you got something that's, maybe not that important, just still put it in there. You don't even have to be one of my seasoned vets. If you're an installer or you're new into the game and you ran into snags or things you've learned, I can tell you some of the things I've been hearing from some of you guys out there that I've been learning, and we'll kind of talk about some of that in this video. So make sure you stay till the end. But he's got he's going to Home Depot, it looks like. And as far as I know, right, Home Depot sells Clopay, basically. And he's looking for a 9x8 white, this classic steel standard torsion spring. That's going to be a little tricky. You always got to make sure they do have the standard. So you're going to want the build sheet on it or the proof of purchase, basically what it's going to be, because they'll give you that easy set stuff. If you don't want that, you want the standard torsion spring. It's a lot better, works nicer, smoother, less noisy. So I definitely would recommend it. But he says it's a 4 weeks before I got it here. Is that normal? When I used to deal with like Wayne Dalton even a lot, it generally could be a 2 to 3 week lead time, depending if they had it in stock. So, the vendor situation, it's going to be tough for you. On one hand, look at it. It sounds like down in Florida, you can't even buy garage doors from the box stores. So it is a blessing that you can buy them from the box stores in certain areas of the country. But we'll talk about it a little bit, some ideas I have and some of the things you got to do to kind of, get started and keep moving upwards. So a couple things that comes to mind is I don't see many people do this. And I think this is kind of something that we should consider. I think it's possible for new guys, right? I think new guys should possibly explore other garage door companies. I know for myself, if I had a newer person coming in and stuff like that, for myself, I would encourage it, right? So you might want to shop around and see if you can find a garage door company that maybe would work for you, right? I don't see a lot of people doing that because for me, for instance, right, if I can mark it up a few dollars, nothing outrageous, and I can provide you a product, you turn into possibly an ally too, right? Because now you can actually install for me if I have a job or you're learning, you're growing. So, just consider possibly maybe reaching out to some garage door companies, shop around. I'm sure there's going to be some scumbags that are going to probably really try to rip you off, but do understand you're going to probably get a better quality garage door from a garage door company than you are the box stores, because there's going to be things they're going to cheap out on, the struts and rollers and hinges and certain things like that. So be aware that you are going to probably pay, upwards of maybe $60, $80, $120, $150 more per garage door, than what you're going to find at the box store. And please, you guys, don't be afraid to put it in the comments. But so what I keep seeing another thing across the board is getting basically your EIN number. So getting your, Internal Revenue Service stuff all kind of squared away. You're going to have to kind of start building some history. And I think it's hard sometimes for people that you have to understand this stuff takes an extremely long time to do. It's not that it has to, right? But it just depends on how much time, especially if you're working a full-time job, things like that. It's hard at the end of the day to, sit in front of a computer for an hour or 2 to 6 hours to punch away and then to deal with something that throws an error code and says you didn't enter this right and you need to call this phone number during normal business hours, 8 to 5 when you're working, 7 to 6. So, but the EIN number, is what I kind of see gets you hung up at maybe Service Spring and things of that nature. So, get your business name registered, do your DOB, doing business as, or DB. I don't know what that is, but anyways, doing your business as DBA, and get that stuff all kind of figured out. And like I said, it all takes time. But for right now, like I said, use them as your assets, the lows, and that you can always, have the customer purchase it too, right? So that doesn't tie you up financially. So there's little things like that. But the EIN number seems like that's a big hiccup for guys. Get your bank account going, so you can have your checks, certain little things like that. So kind of a couple stories on my end. I think we can get kind of hung up, the biggest thing is is sometimes it's difficult, especially when you're young, but you have to realize that you have to kind of mature and you have to make phone calls and you have to just ask questions and you just have to roll the dice, right? It's kind of like that whole, you got to walk up to that girl and ask for the dance. That's basically what it comes down to. And some are going to tell you no, some are going to say, hell yeah, and so you win some, you lose some. So don't be afraid to shop around, call. If something just doesn't feel right, check your numbers. That's a big thing too. Check your numbers on vendors, because they can vary a lot. Some will, and you just kind of figure out what's a good fit. But there's a lot of little things you can do behind the scenes to get things in motion. For me, I know there was times I got stuck with a vendor and I was so locked onto that vendor, and that vendor obviously, wasn't really the best vendor. You know what I mean? So don't get fixated on the product that if you get with a certain manufacturer or a certain name brand, that's what's going to save you. Because it's kind of like that saying, right? Anybody can get a cup of coffee somewhere, right? But it's the service. You walk in there, somebody says hi to you. They know your name. The place is clean. They keep the coffee fresh. Just those little things. The service is what matters. That's what's going to make you stand out in business. So those are some little tidbits. But if any of my seasoned vets or anybody, you got anything to throw in there, don't be afraid. Put it in the comments. Like I said, let's help this gentleman out and see what we can do to make things a little easier and smoother. And I definitely really appreciate the email. And if you guys have anything like that that you want to send me, I love sharing them. You can send them to me at the daveadubson@gmail.com. I really appreciate it. And remember, as always, keep your fingers. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.